January 1944. Central Italy. 1,700 feet above the Liri Valley, a monastery stood against the sky. Monte Cassino Abbey, founded by Saint Benedict in 529 A.D. For 1,400 years, Benedictine monks had prayed within these walls. Through the fall of Rome, through the Dark Ages, through medieval wars and Renaissance splendor, kings had knelt here. Popes had blessed these stones. Scholars had preserved Western civilization's knowledge in this library. The abbey was more than a building. It was a symbol of faith, of culture, of everything humanity had built across centuries. It was paradise on a mountain. But below, in the valley, two armies faced each other. Allied forces pushing north to Rome, German forces blocking their path, and Monte Cassino stood directly between them. In 4 months, the abbey would be rubble. 55,000 men would be casualties. The mountain would run red with blood from a dozen nations. This is the story of Monte Cassino, the battle that destroyed paradise. September 1943. Allied forces invaded Italy at Salerno. The goal, Rome, then northern Italy, then Austria and southern Germany. But progress was brutally slow. Italy's terrain favored defense. Mountains, rivers, narrow valleys, every ridge a fortress, every river a barrier. The Germans, commanded by Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, fortified central Italy with the Gustav Line, stretched coast to coast across Italy. Concrete bunkers, minefields, barbed wire, anchored on Monte Cassino, overlooking Highway 6, the only practical route to Rome. Highway 6, the ancient Via Casalina, ran through the Liri Valley directly beneath Monte Cassino Abbey. Every vehicle, every tank, every soldier taking that road was visible from the abbey 1,700 feet above. German artillery observers had a perfect view. The Allies had 2 options. 1, take Monte Cassino and open Highway 6. 2, find another route. There wasn't one. So they had to take Monte Cassino. But the mountain was a natural fortress. Steep slopes, rocky terrain, limited approaches, and 1,700 feet above, the ancient abbey gazed down. The question no one wanted to ask, was the abbey occupied by Germans? And if it was, could it be destroyed? Monte Cassino Abbey was founded in 529 A.D. by Saint Benedict of Nursia. Benedict created the Benedictine rule, ora et labora, pray and work. This rule became the foundation of Western monasticism. Monte Cassino was the mother house of the Benedictine order. The abbey had been destroyed before. 577 A.D., Lombards. 884 A.D., Saracens. 1349, earthquake. Each time it was rebuilt, more magnificent than before. The current structure dated to 1649, Baroque splendor, white marble, golden domes, frescoes by the masters. The library contained 40,000 volumes, illuminated manuscripts, ancient texts, irreplaceable treasures. In the crypt beneath the main altar, the tomb of Saint Benedict and his sister, Saint Scholastica. Over 1,400 years, Monte Cassino had survived invasions, earthquakes, wars, but it had never faced modern artillery. It had never stood between 2 armies with 500,000 men between them. In January 1944, 80 monks still lived in the abbey, led by Abbot Gregorio Diamar. They prayed, they tended their gardens, they hoped the war would pass them by. They were wrong. The Germans did not initially occupy the abbey itself. Field Marshal Kesselring issued orders in September 1943. Asterisk, the area of the monastery of Monte Cassino will not be occupied by German troops. The monastery will be treated as neutral territory. Asterisk, Kesselring was Catholic. He understood the abbey's significance. But German forces occupied everything around the abbey. False Sturmger, elite paratroopers, dug into the slopes below, machine gun nests covering every approach, mortar positions in the town of Cassino at the mountain's base, artillery batteries on reverse slopes, minefields everywhere. The German commander at Cassino, General Lieutenant Fridolin von Sanger UND Ederlin, also Catholic, also conflicted about the abbey. But his orders were clear: hold the Gustav Line, stop the Allies, protect Rome. The abbey remained untouched. A 300-meter exclusion zone was maintained, but from Allied positions in the valley, binoculars spotted activity near the abbey. Were Germans using it as an observation post? A command center? Allied intelligence couldn't confirm, but suspicion grew, and plans were made. January 17, 1944. The First Battle of Cassino began. Lieutenant General Mark Clark, commanding U.S. Fifth Army, ordered a three-pronged assault. Northern attack * British X-Corps would cross the Garigliano River north of Cassino. Central attack * U.S. 36th Infantry Division, Texas National Guard, would cross the Rapido River directly below Monte Cassino, break through German lines, and push into the Liri Valley. Southern attack * French Expeditionary Corps would attack through the mountains south of Cassino. The key, the Rapido River crossing. The Rapido was only 50 feet wide, but it was a formidable obstacle. Swift current, steep muddy banks. German positions on far side with overlapping fields of fire. Every crossing point pre-registered by German artillery. Minefields on both banks. The 36th TH Division's commander, Major General Fred Walker, protested. He wrote in his diary, * I do not see how we can possibly succeed. This is a suicide mission. * He was ordered to attack anyway. January 20th, 1944. Night. The 36th Division prepared to cross the Rapido. January 20th, 1944. 8 p.m. The 36th Division began crossing the Rapido. Soldiers carried rubber assault boats through muddy fields toward the river. German flares lit the night. Artillery crashed down. Machine guns opened fire. Men dropped. Boats were hit. The advance staggered. Those who reached the river launched boats. Half sank immediately, punctured by shell fragments or torn on barbed wire underwater. Men drowned, pulled under by heavy equipment. Those who reached the far bank encountered minefields. More casualties. A few companies pushed inland. They were cut off, surrounded, annihilated. By dawn, the attack had collapsed. Casualties from one night * 1,681 men, killed, wounded, missing from the 36th Division, 143 killed, 663 wounded, 875 missing, most captured or dead, almost nothing gained. The division was shattered in 24 hours. General Walker's prediction had been correct. Suicide. After the war, the Texas state legislature passed a resolution condemning the Rapido crossing as a waste of Texas soldiers' lives. But the battle was just beginning. While Americans died at the Rapido, French forces attacked from the south. The French Expeditionary Corps, commanded by General Alphonse Juin, included elite North African troops. Gummiers * Moroccan mountain fighters. Tirailleurs * Algerian and Tunisian infantry. Spies * cavalry. These men were used to mountains, to cold, to harsh terrain. They advanced through peaks the Germans thought impassable. In temperatures below freezing, the Gummiers climbed cliffs, outflanked German positions, capture heights. The French advance was the only success of the first battle. But they couldn't take Monte Cassino alone. Without the Americans breaking through in the valley, the French were exposed. By February 11th, the first battle ended. Casualties * American, 200 plus. French, 500 plus. British, 4000 plus. German, 200 plus. Total * 14, 000 casualties in 3 weeks. And Monte Cassino still stood, untouched, untaken. The Gustav Line held. February 1944. Allied commanders faced a dilemma. Monte Cassino Abbey dominated the battlefield. Every attack had failed. Some commanders believed Germans were using the Abbey as an observation post or command center. Aerial photographs showed antenna-like objects on Abbey roof, possibly clotheslines. Movement near Abbey walls, possibly refugees or monks. Machine gun positions within 300 meters. But no definitive proof of Germans inside the Abbey itself. Lieutenant General Bernard Freyberg, commanding New Zealand Corps, demanded the abbey be bombed. Asterisk, my infantry are being massacred. They believe Germans are in the abbey. If I order another attack without bombing the abbey first, morale will collapse. Asterisk, General Mark Clark opposed bombing. Asterisk, we have no proof Germans are in the abbey. Destroying it will be a propaganda disaster. The monastery has stood for 1,400 years. Will be barbarians who destroyed Western culture. Asterisk, the debate went up the chain. To General Harold Alexander, Allied commander in Italy, to Winston Churchill in London. The decision was agonizing. Military necessity versus cultural preservation. Soldiers' lives versus sacred heritage. On February 13th, the decision was made. The abbey would be bombed. February 14th, 1944. Morning. Allied aircraft dropped leaflets over Monte Cassino. Italian friends, beware. Asterisk, up to now we have tried to avoid bombarding Monte Cassino. The Germans have taken advantage of this. The battle is now closing and more around the sacred precincts. Asterisk. Against our will, we are now obliged to direct our weapons against the monastery itself. Asterisk, we warn you, so that you may now save yourselves. Leave the monastery at once. Asterisk. Put this warning to good use. The Fifth Army, Abbot Gregorio Diamar, 79 years old, read the warning with horror. Some refugees sheltering in the abbey fled, but the 80 monks remained. Where could they go? The abbey was their home, their life's work. German commanders, seeing the leaflets, realized what was coming. They withdrew from positions near the abbey, moved back 300 meters. If the abbey was going to be bombed, they'd wait until after, then occupy the rubble. Rubble makes better defensive positions than intact buildings. The monks spent the night praying. February 15th, dawn clear. Perfect bombing weather. February 15th, 1944, 9:30 a.m. The first wave of bombers appeared over Monte Cassino. B. 17 flying fortresses. B. 25 Mitchell medium bombers. B. 26 Marauders. 229 aircraft in total. They carried 1,150 tons of high-explosive bombs and incendiary bombs. At 9:45 a.m., the first bombs fell. The abbey exploded. White stone walls collapsed. The Baroque church imploded. The golden dome crumbled. The bell tower toppled. For 3 hours, wave after wave of bombers pulverized the abbey. Inside, monks and refugees huddled in the crypt. The walls 8 feet thick protected them from direct hits, but concussions killed. Dust choked. The ground shook continuously. One monk wrote later, asterisk, the monastery was being murdered from the sky. Each bomb felt like the end of the world. We prayed and waited to die. Asterisk, by 12:30 p.m., it was over. 1,150 tons of bombs. 599 tons hit the abbey. The rest fell on the slopes around it. The abbey, 1,400 years of history, art, culture, was rubble. Civilian casualties inside, asterisk, 230 killed. Refugees and monks combined. German casualties, asterisk, nearly zero. They weren't in the abbey. Allied propaganda claimed, asterisk, German observation post destroyed. The truth, asterisk, the abbey had been empty of Germans. Until now. February 16th, 1944. Dawn. German Fallschirmjäger moved into the abbey ruins. What had been a magnificent Baroque monastery was now a fortress of rubble. The thick walls, designed to last centuries, hadn't been completely destroyed. Instead, they collapsed into jumbled defensive positions, machine gun nests hidden in rubble, observation posts in shattered bell tower, mortar positions among fallen columns, tunnels through collapsed cellars. The bombing had achieved the opposite of its intention. Before, the abbey was off limits to Germans, standing intact. After, the abbey was occupied by Germans, transformed into a near-impregnable strongpoint. Field Marshal Kesselring later wrote, asterisk, the Allies bombed the abbey. Then we occupied it. They created the perfect fortress for us. Asterisk, The propaganda value was incalculable. Nazi radio broadcasts. Asterisk. Allied barbarians destroy 1,400-year-old monastery. Western culture annihilated. Asterisk. The Vatican protested. Pope Pius XII condemned the bombing. Neutral countries expressed outrage. Allied commanders realized their mistake. But it was too late. Now they had to take Monte Cassino from Germans entrenched in the ruins they created. Immediately after the bombing, Allied commanders ordered a ground assault. If the bombing didn't destroy the German defenses, infantry would finish the job. Attacking forces asterisk. 4th Indian Division, mountain troops. 2nd New Zealand Division, supporting armor. Their objective: take the town of Cassino at the mountain's base, then assault the abbey ruins above. But the ground assault was poorly coordinated with the bombing. Infantry weren't in position. Artillery support was limited. The Germans had recovered from shock. The Indian Division attacked up the slopes toward the abbey. German fire from the ruins cut them down. The New Zealand Division attacked into Cassino town. Every ruined building was a German strongpoint. For 3 days, house-to-house fighting raged. Casualties second battle, February 15th to 18th. New Zealand, 300 plus. Indian, 700 plus. German, 400 plus. Result asterisk minimal gains. Cassino town partially taken. Abbey ruins untouched. The second battle stalled. After the second battle's failure, Allied commanders regrouped. General Freiberg proposed a new plan. Total destruction. Not just the abbey. The entire town of Cassino. Every building. Every street. Then a ground assault behind a rolling artillery barrage. The plan: 1. Aerial bombardment. 500 plus aircraft carpet bomb Cassino town. 2. Artillery barrage. 746 guns fire 195,000 shells in 24 hours. 3. Infantry assault. New Zealand 2nd Division takes the town. 4. Armor support. Tanks advance through rubble. 5. Indian 4th Division assaults abbey ruins from town. It would be the heaviest concentration of firepower in the Italian campaign. The bombing was scheduled for March 15, 1944. But Allied intelligence made a fatal assumption. The bombing and artillery would destroy German defenses. They were wrong. March 15, 1944, 8:30 a.m. The sky filled with aircraft. Operation Bradman asterisk 500 plus bombers and fighter bombers attacked Cassino town. 1,250 tons of high explosive and incendiary bombs in 3.5 hours. The town disappeared. Every building collapsed. Streets vanished under rubble. The ancient Roman amphitheater, 2,000 years old, destroyed. The medieval Rocca Janula Castle, smashed. A town of 25,000 people pre-war, reduced to moonscape. Civilians huddled in cellars survived. But 300 plus were killed. German Fallschirmjäger, dug into reinforced bunkers and cellars, also survived. When the bombing stopped, they emerged from underground shelters, set machine guns in fresh rubble, and waited. At 12:30 p.m., Allied artillery began. 746 guns fired 195,000 shells over 24 hours. The ground shook for miles. Dust covered everything. Visibility dropped to 0. Then, at 3:30 p.m., the New Zealand 2nd Division attacked. The New Zealand infantry advanced into hell, but the bombing had created an impassable obstacle: rubble and craters. Tanks couldn't move. Craters 30 feet deep block streets. Rubble piles 20 feet high required climbing. Every pile was a German strongpoint. Worse, dust from the bombing reduced visibility to 10 feet. Units lost contact. Soldiers couldn't see enemy positions until they were on top of them. German Fallschirmjäger emerged from underground shelters and fired from prepared positions. The New Zealand advance staggered. Then disaster. Allied artillery, still firing, hit advancing New Zealand troops. Friendly fire killed and wounded dozens. Coordination collapsed. Radio communications failed in the dust. By nightfall March 15th, the attack had gained only 200 yards into Cassino town. The Indian Division's assault on the abbey ruins was postponed. The New Zealanders hadn't taken the jumping-off positions. March 16, 1944. The Indian 4th Division attacked Castle Hill, Rocket-Janula, the medieval fortress halfway between Cassino Town and the Abbey ruins. Leading the assault, 1 SD Battalion, 9th Gurkha Rifles. The Gurkhas, Nepalese soldiers serving in the British Indian Army, were legendary fighters, small in stature, huge in courage. Armed with kukri knives for close combat, they stormed Castle Hill under German fire, hand-to-hand fighting in the castle ruins. The Gurkhas took Castle Hill by March 17th, but they were cut off, surrounded, under constant German counterattack. Resupply was impossible. Every approach was under fire. For 6 days, 200 Gurkhas held Castle Hill. No food, little water, ammunition running low, wounded untreated. German paratroopers attacked repeatedly. The Gurkhas held. March 19th, a massive German counterattack supported by armor overran Castle Hill. The Gurkhas retreated, those who could. Casualties asterisk. Gurkha Battalion, 150+ killed or wounded, 75% casualties. Germans, 200+ killed. Castle Hill returned to German control. The heroism was incredible. The result was failure. In Cassino Town, fighting focused on the Hotel Continental, a ruined luxury hotel on the main square. For 1 week, New Zealand troops and German Fallschirmjäger fought for this single building, room by room, floor by floor, cellar by cellar, grenades thrown through doorways, machine guns fired down hallways, snipers dueled from windows. A Sherman tank fired point-blank into the hotel's ground floor, collapsing part of the structure. Germans still held the basement and upper floors. Neither side could dislodge the other. Casualties mounted. Fatigue set in. Both sides were exhausted. By March 23rd, the third battle ended in stalemate. Casualties third battle, March 15th to 23rd. New Zealand, 1,600+. Indian, 3,000+. German, 1,000+. Total asterisk 5, 600 casualties in 8 days. Gains asterisk par Cassino Town. Not the Abbey, not Castle Hill. The Gustav line still held. 3 battles, 3 failures. But the Allies were learning. The next assault will be different. April 1944. A new army arrived at Cassino. The Polish II Corps, 50,000 men. They were soldiers with nothing to lose and everything to fight for. Their commander, General Władysław Anders, former Soviet prisoner freed when Germany invaded USSR. His soldiers came from Polish POWs released from Soviet gulags, Polish exiles from around the world, refugees who'd escaped occupied Poland. They'd fought across the Middle East, North Africa, now Italy, but Poland itself was still occupied by Germans in the West, by Soviets in the East. These men were fighting for a homeland they couldn't return to. Their motto, Za nas I wasawul nas, for our freedom and yours. General Anders addressed his troops before Cassino. Asterisk, soldiers, you have fought across 3 continents. Now you will fight for Italy's freedom and Europe's liberation. But remember, every German you kill is one less occupying Poland. Every victory here brings us closer to home. Asterisk, the Poles were assigned the most difficult objective, Monte Cassino Abbey ruins. Where 3 other armies had failed, the Poles would succeed, or die trying. May 1944. The Allies planned one final assault, Operation Diadem. This wouldn't be another isolated attack on Monte Cassino. This would be a massive offensive across the entire Gustav line. Northern Front, Monte Cassino. Polish II Corps, assault Abbey ruins from northeast. British 13 Corps, cross Rapido River south of Cassino, push into Liri Valley. Southern Front, Urumqi Mountains. French Expeditionary Corps, break through mountains south of Gustav Line. Western Front, Anzio. U.S. 6 Corps, break out from Anzio beachhead, landed January 1944, surrounded since. Total Allied forces asterisk 20 divisions, 500,000 men. Facing them asterisk 15 German divisions, 200,000 men. The Allies had overwhelming numerical superiority, artillery superiority, air superiority, but they'd had those advantages in 3 previous battles and failed. Monte Cassino was still the key. If the Poles could take the Abbey ruins, German defenses would collapse. If the Poles failed, the entire offensive might stall. Everything depended on the Polish assault. They had one advantage. Surprise! The Germans expected another attack on Cassino Town from the south and west. The Polish attack would come from the northeast. Steep terrain the Germans thought too difficult. May 11, 1944. 11 p.m. Operation Diadem began. May 11, 1944. 11 p.m. While artillery pounded German lines across the Gustav Line, Polish II Corps began climbing Monte Cassino. The plan, attack from the northeast, where Germans least expected it. The reality, steep rocky slopes with no cover. German positions overlooking every approach. 2 Polish divisions advanced in darkness. 3rd Carpathian Division attacking Point 593, hill south of Abbey. 5th Kresowa Division attacking directly toward Abbey ruins. German fire erupted. Machine guns, mortars, artillery. The Poles had nowhere to hide. They climbed exposed slopes under fire. Men fell. Companies were decimated. Officers were killed. But the Poles kept climbing. By dawn, May 12th, some units had reached positions near Point 593 and the Abbey, but they couldn't hold. German counterattacks pushed them back. The first Polish assault failed. Polish casualties, first assault 000 plus killed and wounded in 24 hours. The Poles withdrew to regroup, but they weren't done. While the Poles attacked Monte Cassino, British 13 Corps attacked across the Rapido River south of Cassino. This time it worked. Unlike the disastrous American crossing in January, the British assault was properly coordinated with artillery, supported by smoke screens, attacking where Germans didn't expect. By May 14th, British forces had crossed the Rapido and were advancing into the Liri Valley. German defenses were cracking. Further south, the French Expeditionary Corps shattered German mountain positions and advanced rapidly. The Gustav Line was breaking, but Monte Cassino still held. If the Germans kept Monte Cassino, they could counterattack into the Liri Valley and stop the breakthrough. The Poles had to take the Abbey. Everything depended on them. May 17th, 1944. Dawn. The Poles attacked again. They'd regrouped, replaced casualties, brought up reinforcements. But the men climbing Monte Cassino were exhausted. They'd been fighting for a week. Still, they climbed. This time, German resistance was weaker. With British forces advancing through the Liri Valley and threatening encirclement, German commanders made the decision. Abandon Monte Cassino. Withdraw to the Hitler Line, 10 miles north. The Fallschirmjäger, who'd held Monte Cassino for 4 months against 4 major assaults, began evacuating. But they left rear guards, snipers, booby traps. They'd make the Poles pay for every foot. May 18, 1944. Dawn. Polish troops entered the Abbey ruins. Fighting continued, room by room, rubble pile by rubble pile. Then at 10:20 a.m., a Polish patrol reached the highest point of the ruins. They had a Polish flag made from a Red Cross banner and a pennant from a Polish Lancer regiment. At 10:20 a.m., May 18, 1944, the Polish flag was raised over Monte Cassino Abbey. A bugler from the 12th Podolsky Lancers played the Krakahejnal, the Polish anthem. For months, for battles, 55,000 casualties. Monte Cassino had fallen. The Battle of Monte Cassino lasted 123 days, January 17th to May 18th, 1944, for separate battles. For armies tried. The 4th succeeded. Total casualties, 55,000. Allied casualties, 38,000. Polish, 4,200,924 killed, 3,276 wounded. New Zealand, 1,900 plus. Indian, 4,000 plus. British, 4,000 plus. American, 200 plus. French, 5,000 plus. Other Commonwealth, 1,000 plus. German casualties, 20,000. Killed, wounded, missing, captured. Civilian casualties, 2,000. Killed in bombing of abbey and town. Died in crossfire and shelling. Italian casualties * unknown, hundreds more. Refugees, forced laborers. For comparison, D-Day, 10,000 Allied casualties on June 6. Monte Cassino, 55,000 total over 4 months. The casualties per day were lower than D-Day, but the cumulative horror, 4 months of grinding attrition, was soul-crushing. And what was achieved? A route to Rome. The Gustav line broken. But Rome could have been bypassed. The Anzio landing was supposed to do that. Was Monte Cassino necessary? Or was it a symbol both sides refused to abandon? The abbey itself was lost. 1,400 years of continuous worship ended. The library, 40,000 volumes. Medieval manuscripts, illuminated texts, mostly destroyed. The German Kunstschutz, Art Protection Unit, had evacuated some treasures in October 1943. 187 crates of manuscripts and artwork. Moved to Rome, then to German museums. But most was lost. Frescoes by Luca Giordano, destroyed. Baroque sculptures, pulverized. The main altar collapsed. St. Benedict's tomb, buried under rubble. The bombing of February 15th destroyed 80% of the structure. The subsequent 4 months of fighting destroyed the rest. By May 1944, Monte Cassino Abbey was rubble. And for what? The Germans weren't in the abbey when it was bombed. They occupied it afterward, making it a stronger defensive position. The bombing achieved nothing militarily and destroyed everything culturally. It remains one of the most controversial decisions of World War II. On the slopes below the abbey ruins, a cemetery was established, the Polish War Cemetery at Monte Cassino. 1,052 graves. Polish soldiers who died taking the mountain. Every May 18th, on the anniversary of the capture, ceremonies are held. Polish veterans, when they were alive, returned, sang songs, remembered fallen comrades. But many Polish soldiers never returned to Poland. After the war, Poland fell under Soviet domination. The soldiers who'd fought for our freedom and yours couldn't go home. Communist Poland didn't want them. They'd fought for the government in exile. Many settled in Britain, Canada, United States. Exile forever. General Anders, commander of Polish II Corps, died in London in 1970. He's buried at Monte Cassino with his men. He never returned to Poland. The cemetery's entrance has the Polish II Corps motto, * we Polish soldiers, for our freedom and yours, have given our souls to God, our bodies to the soil of Italy, and our hearts to Poland. * they rest now on the mountain they conquered. Overlooking the valley they liberated. Far from the homeland they never saw again. May 19, 1944. When Monte Cassino captured, Highway 6 was open. Allied forces poured through the Liri Valley toward Rome. German resistance crumbled. The Hitler Line, the next offensive position, was breached within days. On June 4, 1944, American forces entered Rome. Rome * the first Axis capital liberated. Captured intact, not destroyed like Monte Cassino. The liberation of Rome made headlines worldwide for exactly 24 hours. Then on June 6, 1944, D-Day overshadowed everything. The Italian campaign, which had cost 55,000 casualties at Monte Cassino alone, was relegated to secondary status. But the campaign continued, north through Italy. Through 1944 and into 1945, Germany didn't surrender until May 1945. Monte Cassino had opened the road to Rome, but it hadn't shortened the war. It hadn't saved lives in the long run. It had simply been necessary because both sides made it necessary. After the war, the Italian government made a decision: rebuild Monte Cassino Abbey, exactly as it was, using the original architectural plans, matching the Baroque style, stone by stone. It took 20 years. 1950 to 1964. On October 24th, 1964, Pope Paul VI consecrated the rebuilt abbey. It looks identical to the 1944 structure, but it's entirely new. The tomb of St. Benedict was restored, the library rebuilt, though the books were lost. Today, Benedictine monks again pray at Monte Cassino. The abbey is alive, but it's a monument now to what was lost, to what was destroyed, to what humanity can rebuild. Tourists visit. They see the cemetery. They read about the battle, and they wonder, was it worth it? 20,000 German soldiers died defending Monte Cassino and the Gustav Line. They're buried in German military cemeteries near Cassino. Many were false Sturmger, paratroopers, elite soldiers. They'd fought across Europe. At Monte Cassino, they were defending, not invading. Their orders: hold line, stop the Allies, protect Rome. They did their duty for 4 months against overwhelming odds. When the battle ended, Allied soldiers found German positions and were astonished. The bunkers were sophisticated, the fields of fire perfect, the defensive positions near impregnable. Allied officers realized Monte Cassino couldn't have been taken by assault alone. Only the combination of massive artillery, air bombardment, breakthrough elsewhere forcing German withdrawal, had made victory possible. The German defense at Monte Cassino was one of the finest defensive battles in military history. That's not praise for Nazis. It's recognition of military reality. War makes enemies, but it also creates respect. The question haunts Monte Cassino: was bombing the abbey justified? Arguments for asterisk. German observers were using the abbey. Our soldiers were being killed. Military necessity outweighs cultural concerns. Buildings can be rebuilt. Soldiers can be brought back to life. Asterisk. General Freiberg's justification. Asterisk. My infantry believed Germans were in the abbey. If I sent them to attack without bombing at first, morale would have collapsed. Asterisk. Arguments against asterisk. Asterisk. Germans weren't in the abbey until after we bombed it. We created the fortress we then had to assault. The bombing achieved nothing militarily and destroyed everything culturally. Asterisk. General Clark's concern. Asterisk. We destroyed a 1,400-year-old monastery for no military gain. We became the barbarians we were fighting against. Asterisk. The truth asterisk. Both sides were right and wrong. The abbey probably wasn't occupied by Germans before the bombing, but Allied soldiers believed it was. Perception mattered for morale. The bombing destroyed the abbey, but didn't help capture it. But would the ground assault have succeeded without the bombing's psychological impact? There's no clear answer. War forces impossible choices. Monte Cassino is a case study in moral compromise. Monte Cassino wasn't unique. War repeatedly destroys culture. World War II alone asterisk. Dresden asterisk Allied firebombing destroyed Baroque city center, 1945. Hiroshima/Nagasaki asterisk atomic bombs obliterated historic cities, 1945. Warsaw asterisk Nazis systematically demolished 90% of the city, 1944. Coventry asterisk German bombing destroyed medieval cathedral, 1940. After World War II asterisk. Mostar Bridge, Bosnia 16th century, bridge destroyed 1993, rebuilt 2004. Bamiyan Buddhas, Afghanistan 1,500-year-old statues destroyed by Taliban 2001. Palmyra, Syria 2,000-year-old ruins damaged by ISIS 2015. Notre Dame, Paris fire damaged 850-year-old cathedral 2019, accidental. The pattern repeats. War destroys heritage. Sometimes deliberately, Nazis, ISIS. Sometimes as collateral damage, Allies at Monte Cassino. The justifications vary. The result is the same. Monte Cassino is a warning. Cultural heritage is fragile. Once destroyed, even if rebuilt, it's never quite the same. Decades after battle, veterans returned to Monte Cassino. Polish soldiers who'd taken the abbey. German paratroopers who defended it. New Zealand infantry who'd fought in the town. Indian Gurkhas who'd held Castle Hill. They were old men now. The battles were history. What did they think of the bombing? Polish veteran, 1994 asterisk. Asterisk, we cursed the bombing. It made the abbey harder to take. We paid in blood for a mistake. Asterisk, German veteran, 1989 asterisk. Asterisk, the bombing gave us the perfect fortress. We couldn't believe the Allies did it. Then we moved in and held for 3 more months. Asterisk, New Zealand veteran, 2004 asterisk. Asterisk, I don't know if it was right. I just know my friends died. The abbey still stands today, rebuilt. My friends don't. Asterisk, British officer, 1999 asterisk. Asterisk, war makes you destroy what you're trying to save. That's the tragedy of Cassino. Asterisk, the veterans agreed on one thing. War is waste. Lives wasted. Culture wasted. Time wasted. Monte Cassino proved it. Around Monte Cassino, cemeteries marked the multinational sacrifice. Polish War Cemetery asterisk, 1,052 graves on the slopes below the abbey. Commonwealth War Cemetery asterisk, 4,271 graves. British, Indian, New Zealand, Canadian, South African. German Military Cemetery asterisk, 20,000 plus graves at nearby Cairo. Italian Civilian Cemetery asterisk, hundreds of Italian civilians killed in bombing and crossfire. French Memorial asterisk, honoring Moroccan Gumiers and French troops in the mountains. Each cemetery tells a story. Polish, fighting for a homeland they'd never see again. Commonwealth, soldiers from empires spanning the globe. German, defending what they were ordered to defend. Italian, caught between armies not their own. They all rest within miles of each other. Former enemies, now at peace. The mountains they fought over are quiet now. Monte Cassino is studied in military academies worldwide. Tactical lessons asterisk. 1. Overwhelming firepower doesn't guarantee success. 3 massive bombardments failed. 2. Terrain matters more than numbers. Defenders' advantage on mountains. 3. Isolated assaults fail. Only coordinated multi-front offensive succeeded. 4. Rubble creates better defenses in intact buildings. The bombing backfired. 5. Logistics wins mountain warfare. Supply lines determined who could stay, who had to leave. Strategic lessons asterisk. 1. Symbols matter. Both sides fixated on Monte Cassino beyond strategic value. 2. Cultural targets require moral calculation. Military necessity versus cultural preservation. 3. Multinational operations require coordination. 4 nations tried. 4 succeeded with everyone's support. 4. Public opinion matters. Bombing the abbey created propaganda disaster. Moral lessons asterisk. 1. War destroys culture. 1,400 years obliterated in 4 months. 2. Impossible choices are forced. Bomb the abbey or sacrifice soldiers. 3. Mistakes compound. Bombing created the fortress that caused more casualties. 4. Memory honors sacrifice. Cemeteries preserve what was lost. Monte Cassino teaches there are no clean wars. Today, Monte Cassino Abbey is alive again. Benedictine monks have returned. Prayers echo in the reconstructed church. Tourists visit by the thousands. They walk through the museum, see battle artifacts. Helmets, Polish, German, British. Weapons found in the ruins. Photographs of destruction. Memorial plaques in multiple languages. From the Abbey Terrace, visitors look down on the Leary Valley. They see the Polish Cemetery on the hillside, the Commonwealth Cemetery in the valley, the town of Cassino, rebuilt after total destruction. Highway 6, the road armies died control. The view is beautiful, peaceful. It's hard to imagine the horror that happened here. That's intentional. The abbey was rebuilt to show culture can survive war, beauty can be restored, peace can follow violence. But the cemeteries remind, at a terrible cost. The Monte Cassino Museum, inside the rebuilt abbey, preserves memory, artifacts from the battle, Polish eagle insignia from uniform of soldier killed May 18th, German paratrooper helmet, found in abbey ruins, British Lee-Enfield rifle, excavated from bomb crater, Gurkha cookery knife, donated by Indian veteran. New Zealand soldier's diary. Last entry March 15, 1944. Personal items make history real. A letter from Polish soldier to his family, never sent, found on his body. Asterisk, dearest mother, tomorrow we attack the Abbey again. I may not survive, but know I died fighting for Poland's freedom. Tell my sister I love her. Your son, Stanislav. Asterisk, Stanislav Kowalski died May 12, 1944, age 23. He's buried in the Polish cemetery. The museum displays his letter. His mother never received it, but we remember him. That's the purpose. Remember the individuals, not just the statistics. 55,000 casualties isn't a number. It's 55,000 Stanislavs, each with a story, each with a family, each with a life unlived. Every year, remembrance ceremonies honor those who fought at Monte Cassino. Anzac Day, April 25th, New Zealand and Australian veterans and their descendants gather at Commonwealth War Cemetery. Wreaths are laid. The last post is played. Names are read. Polish Liberation Day, May 18th, the anniversary of Monte Cassino's capture. Polish communities worldwide remember. In Poland, in exile communities in Britain, Canada, United States. At Monte Cassino itself, Polish flags fly. Military honors. The Polish anthem. And they sing the Red Poppies on Monte Cassino, a song written by Polish soldiers after the battle. Asterisk, Red Poppies on Monte Cassino. Instead of dew, drank Polish blood. Through the poppies pass a soldier. In rage and fury, go to kill. Asterisk. The song is mournful, proud, angry, resigned. It captures what the veterans felt. Pride in victory, grief for the cost, rage at the necessity. As the last veterans died, last survivor died 2020s, the torch passed to descendants. They carry the memory. They tell the stories. They ensure Monte Cassino is not forgotten. The question must be asked, was Monte Cassino worth it? What was achieved? Asterisk. Gustav line broken. Rome liberated June 4th, 1944. Allied advance continued up Italy. German forces tied down, could reinforce Normandy or Eastern Front. What was lost? Asterisk. 55,000 casualties, dead, wounded, missing. 1,400-year-old abbey destroyed. Town of Cassino obliterated. 2,000 plus civilians killed. Irreplaceable cultural heritage lost. Military verdict asterisk necessary. The Gustav line had to be broken. Rome had to be taken. Strategic verdict asterisk questionable. The Allies could have bypassed Cassino. Anzio landing was supposed to do this. Resources spent at Cassino might have been used elsewhere. Moral verdict asterisk tragic. The Abbey bombing achieved nothing militarily and destroyed everything culturally. Veterans verdict asterisk hell on earth. Those who were there wish they never had been. There's no satisfying answer. Monte Cassino was a tragedy of war. Necessary, costly, wasteful, like all wars. Today, red poppies grow on Monte Cassino slopes. They're symbols of blood spilled, of lives lost, of memory kept. The Polish song, the Red Poppies on Monte Cassino, immortalize them. Asterisk, Red Poppies on Monte Cassino. Instead of dew, drank Polish blood. Asterisk. But poppies also symbolize resilience. They grow in battlefields, in rubble, in soil poisoned by war. They're beautiful, fragile, but they return every spring. Like the Abbey rebuilt, like memory preserved, the poppies remind us. Life continues after war. Beauty returns after destruction, but the cost is never forgotten. Monte Cassino was paradise on a mountain. For 1,400 years, monks prayed, scholars studied, pilgrims visited. Then, for 4 months, it was hell for battles. 55,000 casualties. An ancient abbey reduced to rubble. Polish soldiers raised their flag over ruins paid for in blood. German paratroopers retreated after the finest defensive battle of the war. Allied forces advanced to Rome. Civilians buried their dead. Monks returned to ashes. But from ashes, the abbey rose again. Stone by stone, prayer by prayer. Today, Monte Cassino stands as it did in 1944. Almost. The stones are new, the structure is new, but the spirit of resilience, of faith, of memory endures. The cemeteries remain. The veterans are gone, but their stories live on. Monte Cassino teaches us. War destroys paradise, but humanity can rebuild it. Not perfectly, not without scars, but we can rebuild, and we can remember. We remember, lest we forget, we Polish soldiers, for our freedom and yours, have given our souls to God, our bodies to the soil of Italy, and our hearts to Poland. Thank you for watching this documentary. If you found this story fascinating, please subscribe, and share.